Yo. What's up? What's up? Welcome back to Let's Chop It Up.
Gentlemen.
Please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. My brothers, how was your week? Rod, how was your week?
My week was good. I mean, me and you met for dinner the other day. Yeah. That was cool. That was good, a good time. We had some laughs. But other than that, everything else is good. I got nothing to brag about. Everything's good.
Kelvin, how was your week, brother?
Pretty busy. I had to fly to North Carolina for a minute to go down there and take care of some business, trying to get a veterans home started, up and running. And then I did a quick turnaround, came right back. I had a chance to enjoy some of that Southern cuisine down there, and I went to that famous French restaurant, La Golden Corral, you know what I'm saying? So I went there. so it was cool though. It was good.
La Golden Corral.
I don't like Golden Corral.
I know y'all don't.
Derik, how was your week, brother?
Hey man, my week is good. Just settling in to the thought of we're getting closer to grilling season, man. For me, and everybody knows me. I love the grill. I don't wait for the summer, man. I get it in. Just celebrated my father's 81st birthday yesterday. Yo, man, he's the biggest dog. And we love him, man. And he's my favorite drinking buddy. So my number one man. So happy for that, man. Had a ball, man.
Good.
Wait, hold on a second, D, before you go further. So the last 3 weeks, we into the show with Derik talking about his fitness regimen and going to the gym. And tonight we're talking about barbecuing and liquor. Come on, D.
Listen, D. My father's also my worst. What is it? He's my worst influence too. All right, but that's my man. So I had to kind of break. I had to kind of break protocol for his 81st, man. But I'm back on the water right now. So
all right,
it's a blessing we have him still, man. That's a good thing, man.
Yeah.
So, my week is pretty good. Hung up my man Rod. So they got a bad letter in the mail. Sanitation department gave me $100 fine, saying I had papers 18 inches for my curb.
Yep, that's it.
Papers in New York. 18 inches. When my neighbor got mad trash outside right now, they got refrigerators, all this other stuff in the backyard, and I get $100 fine for some papers randomly blowing.
Right, and that's what they do to me. The same thing.
Yeah, and I paid. Anyway,
that's why you got to make your house look like it's abandoned.
My Lord, I have a cleaning service from a yard, so it's crazy. But anyhow, man, we got some tragic news, man, that just came across a little while ago. Our brother Black Rob, rapper, passed away. He's now with the ancestors. He had known for his greatest hit was the song "Whoa," and rest in peace, Black Rob.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, man.
At some point, man, just share your favorite 5 Black Rob songs at some point, but not right now. But when you get a chance, but
Black Rob,
but R.I.P. to Black Rob though.
Black Rob had one song, maybe two at most, maybe 4. He had 4. We had 4, but one banger.
But they were hella bangers though, man.
Right.
All the other ones, he had somebody else on it. They had people on it.
And the thing I don't like when people trying to blame Puffy for Black Rob. I mean, every man has their own, they have their own life to live and stuff like that. Puffy don't control the show money. Black Rob should have saved better. I mean, things happen. I mean, I know he had substance abuse problems and he died. I think they said he apparently had 4 strokes or something recently. So I just feel bad for the brother, And
what are they saying, Puffy? What he didn't give him enough medical?
Yeah, they're saying Puffy's worth almost $1 billion, and everybody's saying like Puffy should have did better by him. But at the same time, nobody says MCA should have did better by the artists. Nobody's going at Capitol Records and places like that. So it's funny to me when people go after Puffy. I'm not defending Puffy because I know he did some funny business before. But Black Rob had 4. He never really had but one real bang. Like we just said, one banger, 4. Rod said maybe 3 more collabos, and that's it.
But you know what, D, I think Puffy gets that rap for, same reason that a lot of these moguls get it. I think this is what people have to understand. This is what I see from the outside in. It looks like some people, these guys that get you fame, they won't get you the money. So You got to ask your trade-off. You're known, everybody knows you, and you just don't have money. And that's the issue. So if the fame is worth it to you, that's it. I mean, think about it. A lot of the Motown people we love sued Barry Gordy. including Stevie Wonder. So these moguls are in it for money, and like you said, you got to monetize your own situation and take care of it.
Yeah. So yeah,
I definitely think that people need to get their business side of entertainment under control. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, you can be talented, but if your business game ain't right, then your talent is going to be worthless because they're going to take every dime you got. You're not going to profit. Everybody else is going to get rich but you, but everybody sees you. That's just
it's not Puppy's job anyway, man, to make sure that he's financially set for the rest of his life, unfortunately.
So exactly.
It's his job. He's got to take care of his business. And we're going to miss the brother. And for his family.
Yes, and that's the thing is my last thing before we move on is black men, please go to the doctor. Strokes, heart attacks, stuff like that is taking us away before we even get 60. Black Rob was 51, maybe 52 years old. Those we have to start a prostate cancer test, a colon test. I'm doing the colonoscopy. I think it's scheduled next week. This week got canceled, so it's next week. Like those things we have to do, man. Like just doing, bro. It's like really. But in current events, we had a fatal police shooting. Another fatal police shooting in Minnesota. His brother Dante Wright, 20 years old, shot to death by a cop, Officer Porter, or now formerly Officer Porter of the Minnesota Police Department out there. And Rodney, I want to go to you first with your expertise. What do you feel about the stop in the shooting? What's your perspective and from your experience of 22 years? People don't know Rod had 22 years in the police department, and he was also a supervisor in the police department. Go ahead, Rod.
I watched the video like about 3 or 4 times. The female officer who actually had 26 years on the job, and she was also the training officer. So the other 2 officers that were with her, she was actually training them. The thing is, definitely, in my opinion, not a justified shooting. Basically, I thought the tactics were wrong. I know people say, oh, it's easy to say that after it's over. But the reality of it is some things should come naturally. The mistake that they made was he shouldn't have been cuffed by the open door with a car running. You know what I mean? He should have been taken to the back of the car. It was 3 of them. He should have been removed from the car if he was whatever they claim they had on him or whatever. But what happens is once you start losing control of the scene, then sometimes, not all, but sometimes there's officers that panic and they do whatever they can to try to make it stop because they don't want him to get away. So the reality of it is, it looked to me, she's saying she claims she had a taser, which to me, I don't see how you can say that. Your gun is extended straight out in your face. You know if it's your gun or if it's a taser.
And Rob, and walk people through that don't know, like you had a taser on your hip before. Walk the people through that. Talk about the strong hand side to your non-dominant side and which way the taser is fronted and the colors and all that stuff like that, so people understand.
Well, there's clearly a color difference between a taser and your firearm. And your firearm is always on your strong hand. If you're right-handed, then it's on your right side. If you're left-handed, it's on your left side. And a taser would be the opposite of your strong hand. So the thing is, some people put a taser just like their gun on the other side, or sometimes they turn it to where they have to cross draw. That means they have to reach across their waist to pull it out. But a taser and a gun feel nothing like each other. Nothing. The weight, the like I said, the color, the hand grip. I don't know how a person can mistake the taser for a firearm. You know what I mean? And like I said, maybe they're blind or they never held a firearm in their hand before. But the thing is, here's something that people may not be realizing too. She can't use the defense that he got in the car and she thought he was going to reach for something because she said that she thought she had her taser. So if you thought he was reaching for a gun, then you wouldn't have your taser, you would have your firearm. So she just took that defense away from herself by saying, hey, he got in the car and I shot him because I thought he was reaching for something. But you were still yelling out taser, 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 and you said you thought you had your taser in hand. So you couldn't have been thinking that. But I definitely think a situation that they lost control of the scene really easy, and she made a very tragic choice. She made a tragic choice. And
let me ask you this question, Rodney. Is it possible that this story was concocted after the shoot? Not even saying if it's probable, just saying if it's possible that somebody said, look, in light of what's going on in this state already, or what's going on in the country already, the first thing we do is admit that it was a mistake. and just say, hey, you know what, I just pulled out the wrong, firearm or whatever, wrong weapon and used it?
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I can't say what happened with her situation or who she spoke to afterwards, but when situations like this happen, the union gets involved. The union has lawyers that come and represent you. They talk to you, see what your version of the story is, and basically they kind of help you articulate it in a certain way. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm sure she probably spoke to somebody. I mean, this is a serious incident. I'm sure the union got involved, and I'm sure she spoke to lawyers. So when they probably saw what happened, you have to come up with some sort of defense. But that probably was the best defense that they could come up with.
But you don't think a 26-year vet would have made this mistake? You ordinarily?
No. Well, that's another misconception, Kelvin. People think because you got a lot of time on the job, that you're really experienced in the streets. That's not the case all the time. Gotcha. Sometimes people are in indoor assignments for majority of their career. Like a person can have 29 years on the job, but 20 of those years they were doing administrative work inside. So then you throw it back out on the street, and then they're in the blind. They don't know what they're doing. They're not comfortable out there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I know she was a training officer, so I don't know. I know in NYPD, the training officer mostly is an inside position, and they go out occasionally. So I don't know how it worked in her state, but 26 years doesn't mean you know what you're doing out there.
Gotcha. So you're saying that the fact that she was a training officer doesn't necessarily mean that she had a lot of experience training. You know,
Correct.
So yes, so that's interesting, because it seems from what you've told me or who you told us already, she's already made several mistakes. You know, leaving the car running, bringing them closer. Doesn't seem like she's very good at the job. You know, so that kind of dovetails into what normally happens to me, which is, we need more training.
Yeah,
you know. Yeah. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm kind of sick of hearing that, man.
Yeah. The thing is, too, she had two inexperienced officers with her. So the thing is, officers tend to be guided by what the veteran officer says, or the senior officer says, or a supervisor says on the scene. You have to basically instruct them constantly. Those just from the rookies that I've seen. They come out, they're green. They're not very aggressive and assertive, and they don't want to make mistakes. So they're very cautious before they do things, and they only do things when they're told to do them. So she should have been maybe controlling the scene a little bit more, telling him what to do and whatever. Don't cuff him by the door, bring him back. Make sure. Another thing too, once you know that you're going to remove, once you know somebody is about to be removed from the car or taken out the car, the first thing you should tell them is to cut the car off. Cut the car. The car could be dangerous too. The car could run over your foot, your leg, knock you down. You know what I'm saying? The car is dangerous when it's running.
Yeah.
So
yes. So what another police involved incident was a lieutenant, military active duty person got pulled over in Virginia. His brother had his full uniform on. I'm gonna play it back to people that know he was driving his SUV he just purchased on a dark street. This is in the middle of the night, dark street. They throw the lights on him. And he decides instead of stopping right there because he was feared for his life, he pulled to a more lit area, which was a gas station. And the brother had his temporary tag. There's a reason they said he was pulling over, because he didn't see his license plate. He had a temporary tag in the window, and it just went crazy from there. And they maced the brother and stuff like that. And I'm bringing this back to you. Sorry again, Rod. But you have the expertise on this because you have pulled over people in your past job. So Rod, what do you think about that one?
Well, the first thing I want to say is pulling over people is probably the most dangerous thing that police officers do, right? So the thing is, and you have to take into accountability the climate of the way things are going on now. People are seeing in the media every day Black men being shot by the police. You don't know how the person you stop may be thinking about and how he feels about getting pulled over by the police because of the climate that we're in. So officers need to take that into consideration. He attempted to pull this Army lieutenant over, and the Army lieutenant explained that he didn't pull over right away because he didn't want to pull over in a dimly lit area. So he pulled over in the gas station where it was more light. Pulls over, throws his hands out the window, and then the thing is, the officer, I guess because he didn't pull over when he wanted him to exactly, and where he wanted him to, this he took the scene to like times 12. You know, the yelling, the screaming, the threats, the macing, or whatever. The thing is, like, once he pulled over and he put his arms out the window, he's surrendering. He's surrendering. He's not putting up a fight. You know, he's not. He may see him as not complying completely, but you have to take into consideration you don't know what this person's head at. He may be thinking. He may be afraid. That's why he doesn't want to get out the car. That's why he didn't want to pull over in a dark area. You don't know how people are dealing with seeing cops shooting unarmed people today. It affects everybody differently. So they have to take that into consideration when they're doing car stops. Not saying jeopardize your life, not put your life on the line, you know, pulling cars over and not thinking, but you have to take that into consideration. And this officer was fired for this, if I'm not correct.
Yeah, you're correct. I mean, yeah, and the thing about that, it showed the person that showed the most humanity and most class and calm was the person getting pulled over.
Yeah,
he had his hands out. He had his dog. I mean, this is safe. This is a safe brother. He had his dog in a cage in the car, and the dog was suffering. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm surprised Peter didn't come up. They came at Mike Vick. Why didn't he come with this cop? You know what I'm saying? Like, his dog suffering and everything.
There was two temperaments between the two officers that were doing the stop too. If you pay attention, there was another officer there. He wasn't as excited as the other officer, the one that they fired. You know, seemed like he was able to deal with it a little bit better, and he was trying to get him to get out the car so it could seem like it would calm the other officer down. You know, but you know, it's unfortunate, and like I said, you know, another bad choice.
Yeah,
right. I know there was significant pressure also coming from the military, I believe, because I think you got Fort Bragg or something down there, and from what I understand, like they were, you know, their social media was on fire regarding this, you know. So I'm pretty sure that pressure might have you know, facilitated, you know, quicker action being taken, or you know.
And you got a lot of police officers that are former military.
Yeah.
You know.
And then he tried to cop a plea at the end of that joint, trying like, oh, we can work it out, you know, whatever. Like, you know, let's
I guess after he calmed down, he realized he made a boo boo. Like this, going to get out of hand. You know, it's not going to end here. You know,
I'm gonna ask you a question, Rod, and this may not be a fair question. Give you a quick example. Bill Parcells, the coach, used to coach the Giants and the Jets and the Cowboys. But anyway, he was talking to Lawrence Taylor one time, and Lawrence Taylor was like, "How do you know when it's time to retire?" And he told Lawrence Taylor, "When you want to stand around the pile and not jump in it, that's when it's time to retire." How does a police officer know when it's time to give it up?
Yeah, that's a difficult question, Kelvin, because the thing is, I always kind of notice the guys. There's different type of reasons everybody's there. You know,
Gotcha.
Some people say, "Hey, it's just a job, it's a career. I'm gonna do my 20, grab this pension, and I'm gonna be out." Then you got people that the job is their identity. You know what I mean? So it's going to be different between those two people. Some people are going to say, "Hey, I'm going to take the pension and run." And also there's a culture on the job that actually now they frown upon you retiring. You know, they say, "Oh, you're supposed to love this. You're supposed to stick to it. You're supposed to." No, I don't love anything that doesn't love me back. You know, so the thing is, it depends on the individual and what he's originally there for, you know. And to me, I think police officers' pensions are nothing to frown upon. I mean, I left. I never looked back, you know. So, and I never regretted leaving either.
Right. Gotcha.
But it's a difficult question.
Right. And I thought it was.
What you there for me? If you're asking me, I knew it was time to go when I got tired of doing it.
Gotcha.
You know, and the department was changing, and there's a lot of things that, you know, it's different for a black man on the police department than it is for a white man on the police department.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it sounds like a job harder to love, you know.
Like when I see people that are so in love with the job, you know, especially minorities, like I said, they fall into the culture. You know what I'm saying? They fall into the culture. They lose their own personal identity and they adopt a new identity of the culture of the policing.
Wow. So we had another another a fatal shooter. This sorry for everybody. We're not gonna go through and make this happen.
Yeah, this is a bad week.
But this is a bad week, and we just got to talk about it as black men. Like we have black sons and stuff like that, and and some of us have we have our daughters nowadays. They killing our kids too, and our females. So in Chicago, they had another fatal shooter. I'm not sure, Jamie. Do we have a video?
Hold on, my man is coming through. He coming through.
What's okay, white light.
Right.
All right.
We had to break it up a little bit. We had to break it up a little bit, man.
Yeah, we ain't seen you in a while. How you doing?
So we had another fatal shooter in Chicago. It was a 13-year-old young man. It was out. It was at 2:45. It was the early morning hours. I mean, really early, mid early morning hours, hanging out with a gang member from Latin Kings, and with some shootings. I'm gonna give people the story. They were shooting at cars, and Rod, you can talk about the system that they have where they could find out where these shootings come from. And police arrived on the scene, and they went down this alley, and this young man, they chased the man down the alley. Allegedly, he had a firearm, and he looked like he was trying to, I don't know, it's different ways. He was going to toss it, he had it in his hand, and the cop shot him and killed him with one fatal shot. But people got to realize the cop also rendered aid. But Rod, can you lead us on what you think about the shooting and your thoughts?
Mm-hmm. I think this is different circumstances.
My man's back.
This is.
Go ahead, Rod. Go ahead.
I definitely think. Nah, it's all right. I said this shooting is under different circumstances. Mm-hmm. There was a report of shots fired. The 13-year-old was out there hanging with another individual. I think he was actually even 21 years old. The other person he was hanging out with. Yep. And I think the officers pulled up and he gave chase to the 13-year-old, chasing him down the alley to the point where he stopped, and he stopped at a gap in between the fence and took something out of his waist or his pocket, and then he tossed it and then turned, and then the officer shot him. Mm-hmm. Technically, under the guidelines of law enforcement, that's a justified shooting because there was a firearm on that scene. A firearm was in his hand at one time, and the firearm was recovered shortly after he shot the 13-year-old. And I know this doesn't make it easier, but I saw the film, and the officer maintains, I think, amazing control because he only shot him once. Not to say that shooting him once was a good thing. He was able to, because most law enforcement teaches you to shoot in bursts of twos. And he was able to just fire that one shot and then to assess, and then he didn't have to shoot anymore. So I'm going to say the officer did maintain control of that scene, considering what he was dealing with. Now, some people might not like what I'm saying, but I'm telling you from a law enforcement background and perspective. And the thing is, I wouldn't want to be out there facing people with guns. And then you also have a split second to make a decision when that individual turned around, knowing that there was a gun involved on that scene.
And the thing is, the other thing I was thinking about with people with the and he rendered aid. So a lot of things that happened with this cop. He rendered aid.
He immediately rendered aid, and they immediately called for an ambulance to arrive on the scene.
Mm-hmm. He tried to give him, for I understand, he tried to give him first aid, mouth to mouth, the whole thing.
He made an attempt to save him.
Yeah, and what people got to realize sometimes with these young people, with these gangs, and I'm going to give perspective because all of us know people know how the streets go, right? And I work with young people 22 years. Rod, you did the whole thing with school safety. These gang members get a lot of young kids to hold these weapons for them. They do these shootings, and then when the shit get hot, they pass off the gun to the shorty. And shorty, if he gets stopped, he might get juvie, might get some bull crap, some lesser charge. And that's how they could have went. Shorty could probably never even bust the gun. But I mean, I don't know if he had residue on his hands or not. I'm not sure. I don't know about that. But that's how it could have wound up and how Shorty lost his life, because this 21-year-old could have jeopardized this young man's life.
Definitely.
Correct. The thing is, and let's look at it this way. What is a 21-year-old doing hanging with a 13-year-old out in the middle of the night? And he's not related to him. He's not his brother. He's not his cousin. That doesn't look right to me at all. I mean, I wouldn't want my 13-year-old kid hanging with a 21-year-old.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, and it's sad. I feel bad for the parents that deal with this. I mean, and I'm not saying take it for the officer, but when you kill somebody, hopefully he might feel some type of guilt. I know people that we all know street dudes that kill people. They feel some type of guilt. So so it's a bad situation all the way around, man. Like rest in peace, to that young man, and everything. But on another note, we had a male version of a Karen step out in Columbia, South Carolina. I don't know if people saw the video, but Jamie, can you play the video for us, please?
Go away right now.
Call the police.
Hey, they've already been called. They're just waiting. You know what? Maybe you should hang on a little longer. We'll see how it goes. Then we won't have to get the report by ourselves.
What is it you're doing here?
Walking.
Then walk.
Okay, that's what I was doing. She came out of house.
Well, you've been here like 15 minutes now.
Let's go. Walk away.
Keep walking.
Walk away.
I already walked away.
Walk away right now. You need help?
You got this in front of me.
I'm happy to help you. I didn't hit you. There's a difference between
Pretty
pushing
sure
you.
you were the aggressor, buddy.
You're aggressing on the neighborhood.
Someone came running.
Walk back.
You better walk away. You walk away. You talking to my wife right now.
That's your wife?
Walk away.
I didn't do
Walk
anything.
away.
Your wife is speaking.
Check it out. You either walk away or I'm going to carry your ass out of here.
Dude, if you touch
What do you
me,
want to do?
You better not touch me.
Or
I'm
what?
not arguing
What are you going to do?
You up on me.
Let's go. Walk
I'm not
away.
arguing. I didn't do anything to you.
I'm about to do something to you. You better start walking.
I didn't do anything to her.
You better start walking
So
right
when
now.
you come after me like that,
I ain't coming after
you're the one in the
you.
wrong.
You're in the wrong neighborhood, motherfucker. Get out. Get out.
I live here, sir.
Where? Where's your house? What's your address?
Maybe we should walk you home.
I can't walk you home.
Well, you bet. You want to bet what I can do?
I live here, sir.
Okay,
Right
what's
now,
your
you're
address?
harassing the
I'm
neighborhood.
not harassing anyone walking through the neighborhood. I live in, sir.
Where? But check it out. We are a tight-knit community.
Okay.
We
How
take
long
care
have
of
you
each
been
other.
here? How long have
A
you
hell of a
been
lot
living
longer than your ass, because I
How long
have
have you
never
been
seen
living
you
here?
before in my
How long
life.
have you been living here?
That's
Why
none
does
of
that
your
even
business.
matter to you?
How long have you been
It
living
doesn't
here?
matter. You know what? Get the hell out of my face.
You've been
Get out of my
here.
face.
You walked up to me.
Check it out, motherfucker. I ain't playing with you. You either get your ass moving or I'm going to move you.
You smell drunk.
You want to bet?
You are drunk.
I'm about to show you what I can do.
I would suggest that
You better walk away. Walk away. Walk away.
I'm walking. You keep following me, sir.
There's only one way out of here, and it's right over there.
There's multiple ways out of here, sir.
You want to bet? Walk away.
Try Jesus, don't try me, because I throw hands.
Oh man, bro.
So, it's just like the Caucasian Cassidy of them saying like they own the neighborhood. Let me bring people's perspective that don't live in Columbia or might be watching. This happened in a place called the Summit, South Carolina, which I lived in South Carolina for 5 years, going to school down there, a frequent area. That young man and black people live in that area was there before those houses were built. And the young man, I'm reading going to the video wall, he said, I was here before these houses were built. So the white man, really, you came into the neighborhood. And then why can't black folks walk anywhere? I could be able to jog. I live near JFK. White people walk around here all the time, and never nothing happens to them. No, you don't hear no robberies or rob use at the 113. How many times do you hear white people getting mugged over here when you use at the 113? Never
heard
never. So it's really disturbing. And this guy's a drill sergeant, so you can imagine how this activity goes on in the military, the racism that goes on in that. And his boss, I'm glad his boss nailed him. His boss is black, but he got the white man did get arrested for assault. It should be terrorism charge on him.
Well, let me tell you something. I grew up in Massapequa, so there's a part of Massapequa that's the majority of Massapequa actually is you'd run into that. People would call us names, and we just walk into the park or something like that, call us the N-word and things like that. So I've seen this before, and then what amps it up is you get this white female, and then that's always the sound the alarm situation, and now the guy has to come, because I've seen a lot of dudes that have to flex in front of their wife regardless. They have this thing, so you add the racial component to it. Also, I felt bad for this young man. I felt really bad. He's a kid. He's a boy. He's not in a position to deal with some grown man like that. And I think something D that you mentioned, and I was listening to the comedian Godfrey. He was saying that y'all never seem to do that to certain dudes,
certain people
and stuff like that. And I can just tell you, there's a fleshly side of all of us that just has this thing about exacting revenge or something like that. Because that, I gotta admit, it makes your blood boil because it's no reason for that. And that boy is sitting there, he's afraid. They're sitting there trying to intimidate him or whatever, and then pushing him and stuff like that. I mean, he should have been arrested. You know what I'm saying? He should have been arrested, and he found a very, very civil young man. Fortunately, that's all I can say.
Yeah, he found a very level-headed young man. And I'm like you, Kelvin. I'm a Long Island guy, man. Grew up in the town Freeport. Very diverse. Somewhat segregated though coming up, and we had our good years and we had some pretty tough ones. It wasn't always so good. And it just reminds me of a time because I can remember, and I'm not saying, we had our instances. That's, to me, that's a bully, right. And from what I understand of bullies and how I always dealt with them, they only understand one language. And that's power, and you gotta give it to him. And unfortunately, that young man, he's lucky he got that young man. Obviously he's probably doing something with his life. He's got something to lose, so he didn't get crazy or anything. And so it's just unfortunate, man, that people just kind of walk through life like this sergeant. And just very disrespectful, man. It just, very racist. Just
the kid was smart though. He didn't play into his hands because the kid was retaliated.
Exactly.
And that's why this idiot just looks like an idiot, and that's why he wound up.
Yeah, and that's why I say he's very intelligent. You know what I mean? Yep. And if he would have been, to me, it would have been very understandable. If he just would have took it somewhere, because I don't know if I could have been, as cool. But I don't know. So, but kudos to him for keeping a cool head, man, and not coming back or retaliating or anything else, So.
Rod, you got some thoughts, Rod?
Yeah, I got some thoughts. I mean, we're grown men. We obviously know that he did that because he summed up his victim. He basically seen that he was stronger than him. He was just like Kelvin said. He's not even really a man. He's a kid. He's a young boy. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, there's another video out there of people protesting in front of his house.
Yeah.
How come he didn't bring his tough guy ass outside and tell them people to get away? And they were telling him to come outside. So there's another video out there that shows he's not as tough as he comes off.
Listen,
exactly. A situation, we have a racist coward. Most racists are cowards.
Yeah, that's it. Bullies like he wants a victim, doesn't want to fight. You know what I mean? That's it.
They had a couple of dudes out there. They even put some stuff on his lawn and told him, "You better not come out there and take it off."
Yeah. Listen, man. I always said it. A white woman's tears is a black man's coffin nails. She imitated him. She just tried to imitate him. So.
But what people don't pay attention to, they realize. And Rod has sent this video a couple of months ago about the neighbors over some snow. And 2 people dead just because they couldn't keep a cool head. You see what I'm saying? And people need to stop running up to people. You don't know, what I'm saying? Because there's some young men his age will pull something out and blasted the whole neighborhood. You see what I'm saying? Like, people need to stop. You never know. I'm telling you. Because as we know, coming from New York, you can get somebody 13 years old, 14 years old, and I mean, they carrying or something more. They ain't trying to hear it. I feel like they have nothing to lose. And so people, all that tough guy stuff and whatever like that, all that posturing, I'm telling you, it'll get you laid down, and people don't understand that.
Listen, guys, you have to go to break. Go ahead, Rodney. Last words.
I give people good advice. It's like that, like the shooting you were talking about, Kelvin. You see somebody beefing with you, and then they take a strong stroll into the house. I advise you not to be there when they come back out.
When they come,
he running in the house like he's definitely going to get something.
Right.
I would advise you not to be there when he gets back.
Yeah. So everyone's gonna go to break. We'll be back in 2 and 2 for our very intelligent brother. Can't wait to talk to this man, Brother Gerald Moore, Sr.
I'm Dawn Kelly, daughter of Joan Kelly, granddaughter of Margaret Ackerman, and founder and CEO of the Nourish Spot. I'm a native New Yorker, born in Harlem and raised in Queens. The community connects to the Nourish Spot through a number of ways, one of which is through my family's 60 years of long-standing roots in this community. My grandfather purchased the first home in our family here in Jamaica. We connect to the community through our employees. We have a number of young black and brown men and women that mask up and glove up to come to work every day so that we can assemble customized fruits and vegetables into what customers want. And so I'm really happy that we have such a great team, and I thank them every day for their dedication and fortitude. COVID-19 has caused a lot of small businesses like myself to close. And so we're very happy that what we've been able to do is pivot. And so instead of allowing individuals to walk into our store, we have set up a QR code, we've set up a curbside pickup, and we have a heavier reliance on our food delivery service at partners. So in my opinion, resilience means, taking challenges by the horn, if you will, and kind of wrangling them and navigating them in order to continue, in our case, serving the community. The Nourish Spot is all in Queens.
Yes. Welcome back, everyone.
If I get my credit score up, I can get that Benz.
I'm trying to get the Tesla. My boy pulled up to my house with a Tesla. I was like, I gotta get that Tesla. That thing is mean. And speaking of Teslas, when we talk about stemming and all that kind of stuff like that, and technology and going into the future, our next guest is brother Gerald Moore. Gerald Moore is leading our young boys into the future and technology of STEM. Gerald Moore is the founder and head coach of the online technology school of Black Boys. He is charged with the challenge with changing the narrative of young Black males by teaching high-tech skills and effort to close the income equality gaps while preparing young boys to fill the deficit. I couldn't pronounce the word of STEM. I'm sorry about the deficit of STEM. Brother, can we bring in my boy Gerald Moore Sr.?
All right.
Sorry, Gerald, man.
Listen, man.
Listen, happy to have you here, brother, man.
It's my pleasure, man. I was sitting back listening to you guys, man. It's so awesome to have this new Black media where Black men can actually, you can hear our perspectives and know that we are intelligent and we can weigh in on various things that are going on in the world intelligently and just have that voice, man. So I want y'all to know that y'all are the new Black media, man. And we got to start embracing it and supporting one another and building our own platforms where we can kind of be the voice of where we're going as a people.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother. Truly appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. Truly appreciate that, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Gerald, for the people that don't know, and we might have some older listeners and stuff like that, and what is STEM?
STEM. I don't know, man. No, science, technology, engineering, and math. Science, technology, engineering, and math makes up STEM. Yeah. And then we add STEAM to that now where they have the arts in it. So you have STEM, you have STEAM. And with STEAM, you just add an art component. Like I DJ, right? Mm-hmm. So that's an art. So as a DJ, I'm still STEM, but we add an art piece of music too. So that's STEM and STEAM.
Gerald, let me just ask you this. And first of all, thank you for coming on. I have a nephew who's in the Air Force, and this is the direction he wants to go in. He wants to pivot. And so I'm very interested in it. But what I've noticed is it seems like our young men in particular seem to excel in things they have access to. It seems like we're kind of late to this. We don't have the same exposure to this. I'm sure that's what you're doing, trying to bring us up to speed. But why is it that we don't have this information, or it doesn't seem like this has generated the same interest in our community yet? It seems like people don't know much, or am I off base with that?
No, you're right on point. Well, it's promoted to us that it's hard, right? So if you look at like right now, Black boys have a 50% graduation rate. Right, we have a 50% graduation rate nationwide. Out of that 50%, only about 10% of those boys qualify to go into anybody's engineering, computer science, or tech field, right? So when they're in school, they're promoting, like my counselor coming out of school. I had terrible grades anyway. We'll talk about that. But even though I wanted to go into engineering, it was promoted, you either need to go to the service, you don't qualify to go into anything technology. So right now, that's where we are. Black men make up less than 5% of the high tech and STEM workforce, right? So as of right now, when you think about our school systems, 95% of our public schools don't have a true technology curriculum. They don't have any engineers or computer scientists in their building. So how are we creating these people? So if you don't have somebody creating those opportunities outside of school, it's highly likely that you're not going to get into it. And a lot of our inner city kids, like I'm from the inner city. When I grew up, I'm from upstate New York. I'm from Rochester, New York. When I grew up, it's a blue collar city. I didn't know any professionals. Like my father worked at this factory. My mother worked for Kodak. I didn't know any professionals. So a lot of us still don't know any professionals to know, like I'm a cybersecurity engineer, and I try and make sure that all the young Black men I come into contact with know that I'm a cybersecurity engineer. And yo, I'm not some corny dude. I'm not like, I'm just like you. Like I can do this. And we have this facade that, you know, if you're smart or if you're into engineering, you're a certain type of individual, right? And I think a lot of it is that it's still not cool to be smart in the hood. So we have a lot of that as well. So, but it's definitely not being promoted in schools that you can move into those fields. And then academically, a lot of us are academically pushed away from it.
Thank you.
So Gerald, I got a question. Like, you know, you work in the school system and stuff like that. How can you get our school chancellors and superintendents on board on really saying the forecast? Because to me, certain things I think is a waste of time in school nowadays. Like I don't see the purpose of Shakespeare, but I see the purpose of STEM. I just like my friend just pulled up to my house today with a $70,000 Tesla, and he's giving me a ride. I'm like, whoa, this thing has. How can we change that? How can we get down and get these chancellors in a room and say, listen, this is what's the new wave, or the governors or mayors and stuff like that? How do we get them to really get on board with this?
Well, it's really hard because it's the bureaucracy of school, right? It's the bureaucracy of school. Like the schools are rated based on test scores, how many kids we can get to pass these state mandated tests. So they're not looking at the students as individuals. Like students are actually like, you know, there's a sticker price on each student, right? Each student is worth so many dollars to a particular school, and making sure that those students pass these, you know, these tests and these antiquated systems is all the schools are looking at, right? So most school systems have this thing where they call an IEP, an individual education program. Every student is supposed to be entitled to their own IEP. But the only students that actually get an IEP is students that they deem special need or are in a special education program, right? So if a kid is smart, he doesn't get a chance to say, well, you know, this Greek mythology class, I don't want to take that. Like, I'm interested in engineering. Like, why can't I take this engineering class? Even if now we're in a digital landscape where a kid could actually take something that's outside of the curriculum that's in school. But every kid does not have an opportunity to have their own individual education program. And I'm actually like fighting for that right now. I'm actually in a forthcoming book that's with a group of educators. And I'm actually going to be talking about this and the fact that now in this new digital landscape, and now that we've gone through COVID, and now schools have had to adapt with what we call asynchronous learning and remote learning, that now every kid should be able to have their own education plan. So if a kid wanted to learn technology, Mission Fulfilled 2030 in the Tech School for Black Boys is right here, where schools should be able to contract us and say, hey, we got a certain amount of kids that want to be in your youth tech entrepreneurs program. And here we are, right? They should be able to do that. But just the bureaucracy of the school system doesn't allow them to be able to maneuver in that way and definitely pivot and make changes quickly.
Right.
Jared, I got another question for you. Why is your focus on black boys? Because some people might say, hey, why do you have a thing for black girls? I heard your answer before on the radio. First time I heard you was on XM Radio on Urban View Channel. I suggest everyone to please get Urban View, get Satellite Radio, get Urban View. Why do you pick? Why do you focus on black boys?
First of all, it's just based on my story, right? I never had an opportunity. You know, I wouldn't have never had the opportunity to do what I was doing. One, you know, coming through school, I never had a black male educator. Black male educators make up less than 2% of the public school workforce. So it's highly likely that young black males will never have a black male educator. So if you can't get them in school, how else we're going to get them? So we got to create programs like mine where we can educate black boys outside of school, because school isn't going to change what they do to get more black men in. Right. So that's number one. Number two, black men, again, we're not going to have the opportunity to get in tech and STEM through schools. Right. Because we're going to be moved away. Because if you think about, like what I said, black boys graduate at 50%. 10% of those kids have grades good enough where they can get into engineering programs. And then that other 40%, they like C students, right? So how are they going to get into tech and STEM? And if tech and STEM is the future, how are we going to get those average kids, which many of them are above average, but they're not, you know, motivated by people who can motivate them, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm going to fill this void based on where I came from, with the understanding that, you know, I know that C student, I graduated high school with a D average, a 1.69 average, right? I didn't make the honor roll till I got to college. There's reasons for that. I had nobody to motivate me that looked like me. So I know that I can go in and motivate a lot of these young black males that look like me. Coming up, y'all probably fit right in this mode. I grew up in the hood. How was I going to get out? Hip hop, NFL, NBA, drugs, right? I was good at all of them. I didn't do the drug game because I had my boys was in the drug game, and they thought I would make it through sports. I was an all-state football player. They thought I would make it through sports. They kept me away from that, right? So having the opportunity to get in and tell my story and be like, look, you know, you can explore all of these things. Like I love when our young black boys go out and participate in sports, because there's a discipline in it. To be good in it, there's discipline that happens. Right. But then there has to be somebody that steps in and says, hey, look at the percentage or the opportunity where you could go with the NFL or the NBA. And then there's this crossroads that happens, as there's a stat like 90% of NFL players are bankrupt 5 years post-career. Mm-hmm. Like 85% of NBA players are bankrupt 5 years post-career. We only see the stars. We don't see those kids that, you know, the average career for NFL players 3 to 4 years, the average career for NBA players 4 to 5 years, right? So at some point you come in and your salary's going this way, and then your career's over at 27, and now you have no salary, no income, no career. You've blown all the money. Whereas an engineer, we connect here at about 30, and then I keep going up. Right. So nobody's teaching our kids that. Nobody's teaching our boys that. And then, dude, I got 3 daughters. The chances that my daughters can marry a man in the mold of their father is about 2%. So if somebody ain't out here working with these young black males, man, and making a difference, and we black boys are the future of the black family, right? We've all heard the stat that by 2053, the average wealth of the black family will be 0.
Yeah.
The backbone of the black family is black boys. Exactly. 90% of the funding that's coming out for programs in tech and STEM are going to black women and black girls. Like 90%. And this happened about 10 to 15 years ago when they started making all of the promotions and stuff to get women and girls in STEM across the board, not, you know, all races, right? But what never happened is black women are in college right now at about 15-1 over black men. So where they weren't going into tech and STEM then, they are now and Black women are dominating as in relation to where we are going, looking into the future in relation to who's going into tech and STEM. So we don't have an opportunity to get there through college. So we have to create programs outside of school where our young Black males can get involved in tech and STEM. So if we don't get our Black males involved outside of the school system, as far as what we look at, as far as what incomes are, like our Black women right now are outpacing us in relation to salaries. And the only way that we can catch up is in technology. And it's looking like right now it's going to happen outside of school through getting certifications and things like that. So, and maybe going to college later. Like I have this program that I'm launching called the New Opportunity for Black Boys. And what it is we want to help our Black boys get at least one IT certification coming out of high school. And then like each year or every 6 months, get them that next level certification. So if you have like we use the CompTIA program, and they are basically a sanctioning body for IT, an international recognized sanctioning body. So we start our boys with this IT fundamentals curriculum. Then we move them to this Security Plus certification, Network Plus, then Security Plus, A Plus, and Security Plus. If you have those 4 certifications out of your belt, you get a Black kid, he graduates at 18, and by 22, if he has those 4 certifications and about 3 to 4 years experience, you're now looking at a $75,000 to $100,000 employee. There's nowhere else he can get that. If he goes to college, he's $150,000 to $200,000 in debt. So we call that the New Opportunities for Black Boys. And chances are he goes to college, he gets in a psychology degree program, and now he comes out, he can't get a job because he didn't qualify to get in engineering. But now we get this 22-year-old, we got him some certifications, he's working a job, he's making some money, he feels good about himself. We know that sometimes Black males mature a little later than our Black females. Now he's 22, he making money. They say, yo, Gerald, you're doing a good job here. In order to move to management, you need some college. So now we got a more mature man. He got some money. What do our IT companies do? They pay for you to go back to school. So this is actually a better opportunity looking for our young Black men. And we just need organizations like Mission Fulfilled to pop up all over the country where we have brothers like y'all that are guiding these young Black men into better futures.
Yeah, you know what, Gerald, you just described my exact plan for my children. You know, I have 3 boys. All right. And my oldest right now is in the Navy, and we sent him to the Navy, or I advised him to go into the Navy for that reason. He took his ASVAB and he qualified for IT, and that's what he's in there right now. He's actually starting A school and he's studying IT. When he gets out, he'll have they're paying for his certifications and everything, and that was the plan, you know, to send him, and and they'll send him to college. He'll take some college courses while he's there, and I think his experience will actually qualify him for some college credit. So I'm definitely where you are right now and what you described. I'm so in favor of that I can't even explain it to you. And now I have 2 other boys. My youngest wants to be, he states he wants to be an engineer. Like that's what he wants to be. And then and he's 10 years old, and I got another 12. He's kind of the artsy one, so he may do some artistic stuff. But how can I get them? And I know hopefully this is why you're here, and we'll talk about that. How can I get your services, what you provide, to them, to my 2 youngest, because they also my oldest was also in another program here that we went to colleges on the weekend. So I'm looking for something like that, you know, for the youngest 2. I don't know what's going to happen with regard to COVID and everything. How can we get my 2 youngest on that plan? How can I get them push them in that direction? How can you help me?
We have this Youth Tech Entrepreneurs program that we're launching, the Youth Tech Entrepreneurs that we're launching, and people can go to missionfulfilled2030.org and get on the email list. We're going to launch this program in May. And what the program is like you said, you got one son that says he wants to be an engineer and another son who's artsy, right? Mm-hmm. We have these schools. In school, they're everybody's coding, right? That's great. Everybody's not a coder. Like your son who's in the art, I got a son who's in the graphics. He likes to draw and stuff, right? But we're not giving kids the options to know what's all involved. They coding. Well, your artsy son may be involved in UX UI design. That's drawing up the screens and stuff for front end,
Right.
Apps and websites and stuff like that. So through our Youth Tech Entrepreneurs program, we kind of take kids through everything. And then what we do is we use everybody had a chance to have a conversation with Damon John, right? So we all know what Damon John is and FUBU and how he built his business, right? Now through technology, we can create our own tech companies and have your sons create their own tech companies using free tools that are readily available for us. So through our Youth Tech Entrepreneurs program, we get the kids in, we teach them how to design a product, right, in a free tool. Then we teach them how to use these other free tools to put the product out into the marketplace, then leverage social media that they're doing every day as toys to play and waste time to actually market in a business format. Now, when you put all these tools together, you actually have your own software company. So we teach them, this is the value proposition of what you've created. This is how you should market it. And then we become their first customer. So when the kids go through that process and then they see the transaction of that money drop into their PayPal account or their Cash App account, there's a mindset shift. So you mean that you tell me if I stop playing Fortnite for 6 hours a day and focus on this 6 hours a day, I can actually earn an income, right? And we money motivated. Kids are selling drugs because they're trying to get money, right? They out there risking their lives because they're trying to get money. They want to make the NBA and all that stuff because they want to get money. They want fame and they want all that stuff. But they also know our kids are out there on social media trying to make a name for themselves, right? Kind of doing the same thing. But now we make it more constructive and putting the program together that way. We're leveraging the tools that they use every day and just showing them how they can be productive with them. And you never know what's going to hit. You never know what young man is going to hit something big. At 12, he comes up with something creative and start marketing and come out with a dance. And next thing you know, he's a multi-million-dollar company.
Yeah.
So we want to give kids those tools. And at the same time, while we're building this stuff, we're competitive. So I'll get a young man to come and say, Coach Moore, our website is just like everybody else. I want my website to be different. And I'm like, yo, you need to learn how to code some CSS or PHP or Python. But now I'm putting the onus on them. It's his product. Now he feels good about it. So he'll go out and learn those things on his own rather me forcing him to code. So that's how that program works. And we getting kids in that program at about 10 years old.
Gerald, we got a question in the chat, Gerald. There, any options for young men 21 to 25 who graduated high school but did not go to college? And I want to put a second part: is anything for people, young brothers that come? I work with a lot of kids that incarcerated, jail charges and stuff like that. Do you have any programs like that they can get into it?
Actually, we starting to make partnerships like that. Like I originally started my program focused on kids K through 12, but now through questions like that, I get a lot of young brothers who are fresh out of school and they're not going to college or anything like that, and they want to get in. So I've actually partnered with some companies, and we've actually started this Cyber Pathways program, and I've partnered with a couple companies, and we're working on a mentorship program where we can take kids in that 21 to 25 age group who need some reskilling or upskilling, and trying to get them mentorship and get them access to these programs. But I've actually partnered with a couple different companies where we're working with those youth right now.
Okay. How about young brothers that come home with records? Can they get into the tech world? Is it
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Okay. And I actually is familiar with Clubhouse.
Yeah, of course. Everybody's on Clubhouse every 2 minutes.
So I met a brother on Clubhouse who he created a nonprofit to actually create programs for guys who are getting ready to be released from prison. Say they got a year left. So he wants to be able to create programs for them to kind of get them tech skills as they exit the prison system.
Yeah. Right. Well, Joe, I got a question. I'm a father. I got 6 kids. I got 2 boys, 4 girls, and even to this day, people are ringing my bell saying I'm their father. But a lot of kids. So to a parent, right, that's trying to steer their kids in the right direction, right? Because the thing is, I talk to my kids, I talk to my kids' friends and stuff, and I noticed you use the word motivate. which I love that word. What would you recommend to a parent to motivate their kids to go in this direction? Because it's, you know, in the future. Now, when I used to speak to the kids, I did remember, and I remember me and D had this conversation. I said, I started off talking to the kids about being on the police department and stuff like that. And I didn't get their attention until I started talking about money. Then that's when everybody took out their books and started saying, well, why don't you write those salaries on the board? But what kind of advice would you give a parent to basically kind of steer their child into this direction?
Talk about the money.
Yeah,
So,
that's it, right?
I'm gonna tell you a story. So I live outside of DC now. So I was talking to a group of kids in DC, and we were talking about engineering. And of course, you know, they looked at me like, man, you from the burbs, man. You don't know what go on in here. You know, you have to talk to them and let them know that, you know, like, I'm just like y'all. Like, I don't really want to talk about my history and how I got here, but just like y'all. But one of the kids was like, yo, what kind of car you drive, man? And the teacher was like, that's a terrible question.
No, it's not.
You know, she tried to discipline the kid. And I was like, no, that's a very appropriate question.
Yeah, that's a good
because
question.
we do things for reason. The reason our kids want to go to the NFL, the NBA, there's a vanity to it.
Correct.
So I was like, that's a very appropriate question. So I told the kid, like, yo, I drive a BMW 535xi. And his response was, I'm going to be an engineer. Right.
Yeah.
So there's definitely the vanity of it. And you have to let them know, you know, what the outcome is. And that's why when I talked about earlier, I talked to kids about, you know, the average NFL salary right now is maybe $370 or something like that.
Like that 470, somewhere around
Something
that.
like that, right? So if you're an average player and your career is, you know, 3 to 4 years, right? Kids don't understand that all that money don't come home with them. Like, and you get these kids that make that money and they think they can buy their parents a house, they can ball out in the new Tesla, they can do all the stuff. But when you come home after Uncle Sam gets you, you might have 200.
Yeah.
Right.
If you don't already took money from the agent, you already done spent 150 on the chain, you already done, you know, you don't blew the money.
Don't forget the strip club. The strip club. You got to spend money in the strip club.
Right. You made it rain. You know what I'm saying? You made it rain.
And the baby mamas is gonna get you.
Right. The baby mama's gonna get you. And then when your career over, they're not gonna make an adjustment, right? They're not gonna make an adjustment because now you ain't got no money to get a lawyer and go to court. Yeah. So I kind of draw up what the numbers look like for an engineer and how our salaries continue to grow to a certain point where you're gonna cap off at an NBA player unless you LeBron or Steph or one of those major guys, and those guys are few and far in between. You not unless you 6'10", you 6'7", 350, like you Saquon Barkley, you know, Barkley, like those dudes is few and far in between. Yeah. So just kind of letting kids know, like, this is what the money looks like. This is what you can actually have as an engineer. Like,
Gerald, let me ask you a question. Can you tell people what Mission Fulfillment at 2030 is about?
So Mission Fulfilled 2030 is the nonprofit organization, and the original goal. So I launched in 2017. I launched what's called the Tech School for Black Boys, which was a for-fee program to create these tech courses. But what I realized, you know, I didn't want to be the guy to make something that was non-inclusive for those kids who couldn't afford it, right? So Black Enterprise actually picked it up and they ran the story on me. And I became they have this thing called Black Enterprise Modern Man. And I met a guy through that named Sean Dove. And Sean Dove runs the Campaign for Black Male Achievement. So Sean was like, man, young brother, I love what you're doing with this program. I would like to see you take it to the nonprofit space. And I hadn't thought about taking it to the nonprofit space. So I came with this concept, Mission Fulfilled 2030. And the vision is to inspire, educate, and activate 100,000 young Black boys in tech and STEM. And Mission Fulfilled 2030 is actually past tense. So in my mind, it's already done. When 2030 hits, we're going to have impacted 100,000 Black boys. And we do this through creating programs that are totally led by Black men in tech and STEM. So we can show Black boys that we are leaders and we can actually lead. And that the fact that Black boys are the future of digital technology because our ideas aren't even present yet in the marketplace.
Gerald, one last one for me. I'm sorry, D, just really quickly. You said you had a D average coming out of high school. Okay. What I've noticed is like Stony Brook University, They was telling me you can't even get in the engineering program if you are in the school. You can't even get in the program if you have 1 C on your grade. How did you go from being a D student to being brilliant? How did you do that?
Oh, that's right, baby. I went to Benedict.
So when I came out of high school, right? When I came out of high school, I actually had a high SAT score. I was actually being recruited to play football. And at the time they had what they call Prop 48, right? Yep. So I could have been a Prop 48 athlete. I had a kid. I had a son. My first son was born my senior year in high school. I was 17 years old, and I have full custody of him at 3 months old. Wow. So there was a mindset shift there. I'm like, all right, Gerald, like football may not be it. Like I got full custody of my son, but I had a high SAT score. I scored over 1,000 on the SAT at the time. I DJ'd a party the night before. I probably have got 1,400, but I DJ'd a party about 2 to 3 in the morning and went and took the test at 7, but I scored over 1,000. So Norfolk State at the time had an open enrollment policy. So I got into Norfolk through the open enrollment policy, and I tested into their engineering department.
Glad. So, Gerald, I got 2 questions because I know we, on sake of time. Can you tell people about 10,000 Boys, Black Boy Initiative, and then tell people about your book and the name of the book and where can they find it at?
Name of the book: Motivate Black Boys: How to Prepare for Careers in STEM. This is an awesome book. It kind of tells my story, how I went from a D student to being an engineer and earning a 6-figure salary by the time I was 26 years old. So it tells that story. It kind of lays the roadmap of how to steer your Black boys to tech and STEM. Things my mother did as a youth that she didn't even recognize she was doing that kind of built my engineering mind. Things my father did that he didn't recognize he was doing that kind of helped steer me in that direction. And what was your second question? I forgot your second.
10,000 Black Boys Initiative. Yeah.
So in May, we are launching our first 10,000 Black Boys Initiative. So the goal of that is to get 10,000 Black boys registered in our organization and get them moving towards a tech career. This is considering by 2030, we need to have 100,000 Black boys who have some type of impact in being steered towards STEM. So I'm reaching out to other organizations that may have different types of some manhood programs or mentoring programs that don't have a tech and STEM component. I want to partner with you guys and bring these kids in and get them some education in our Young Tech Entrepreneurs program and get them moving so we can have 10,000 boys a year in this program having an impact so we can meet that number of 100,000 by 2030.
Gerald, I want to thank you, brother, for coming on. I'm gonna call you to we got to chop it up about some other. I got some ideas here in New York. I want to bring you on. But Gerald, we truly appreciate you. We love you as an educator. You're a leader in our community. We need more brothers like Gerald. I'm glad that you're building more Geralds for the future for us, man. Truly appreciate you, brother. Love you,
man. I appreciate you, brothers, and I'm gonna be here weekly, man. Y'all gotta make sure y'all ping me for the show. I can't miss this.
I was just about to say that, brother. I just want to commend you for what you do, and you are definitely coming back on this show.
Yo, Gerald, I'm all over that book, man. I'm telling you, and I'm all over that book, man. I'm serious.
Absolutely. I didn't mention so it's 2 ways you can get the book. It's on Amazon. Actually, I'm an Amazon bestseller. It's been an Amazon bestseller for over a year now. You can get the book at either motivateblackboys.com, and I give the signed book there, or you can just get it on Amazon. So Amazon, or you can get it directly from me at motivateblackboys.com.
Oh, I'm coming to you. I'm coming to you to get that.
Yeah, man. We'll make sure you get all. Make sure you get all your money. All the money.
I need all y'all info too, so I can get y'all in some merch, man.
Oh, we need yours. We're gonna send you some merch. Yeah, we're gonna send you some merch too, bro.
Gerald, if I don't call you tonight, I'll probably call you tomorrow, brother.
Absolutely, because I appreciate y'all. Keep doing the good work, man. It's the new Black media. Keep showing up.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother. Peace, brother. Peace.
Oh, man.
Man, that was excellent, man. I love hearing educated brothers. My brother's invested, and he's in the trenches, invested in our future. I mean, he started with the K, now he's in high school. That was great, man. That was great. And it's just other ways our brothers make money. Education, keep trying to tell people that's the new hustle, young people.
Yeah,
education, the new hustle, and it's ways to skin that cat that you don't wind up in $200,000 over debt. I just remember back in the day we had aviation high school, on those kind of schools like that. When he came out, got a trade, and brothers could go in there making $80, $65 an hour, being a plumber and all kind of stuff like that. And I'm glad this brother's back here doing it for us. I
love that entrepreneurial aspect to it, man. You know, that's what really caught my attention, man, because you know that's hitting a couple switches right there, man. Getting them as well.
And the thing is too, I like the idea of self-made brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
exactly. Self-made brother making legal money, don't have to look over his shoulder, and can sleep well at night in his own house.
Real bad.
I love that. I love that.
Brothers, when we come back, we're gonna bring back our brother Lawrence Bartley. Jamie, can you take us to commercial, please? Welcome back. This tonight, a bunch of great educated brothers coming on tonight, and got different walks of life. And we saw our brother Gerald had his story. He could have went a different way. And now we're gonna have our brother Lawrence Bartley. Lawrence Bartley is the director of the New Inside, the printed publication of the Marshall Project, which is distributed in hundreds of prisons and jails throughout the United States. He's an accomplished public speaker and has provided multimedia content from CNN, PBS, NBC, Lightning News, MSNBC, and more. The New Inside is the recent 2020 Izzy Awards. Izzy Awards is for media, independent media, stuff like that, for people that know like that. Outstanding achievement. This brother's dope and dynamic, and his brother has an interesting story. So, Jamie, can you bring our brother Lawrence Bartley in tonight? Yo, what's up, brother? What's up, brother?
Good, fellas. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, man. Thank you for coming. Lawrence, I don't know if you want me to tell your story and the backstory, and then we're gonna get to what you're doing now. I don't know if you want to tell it or you want or I tell it. It's up to you, brother. How you want to do it?
Just ask whatever question you need to ask, and I'll answer.
So I'm gonna give people a little bit of the backstory, how you came into this and your life, and it's a great redemption story. I love it, man. So Lawrence, you correct me if I'm wrong, but this is back in 1990. Here, Valley Stream was a movie theater, and there was an incident where a young person lost their life with an argument that you and your friends might have had with some other young men, and that led to this person's tragic death. That you was charged with this murder of this young person. You did 27 years in prison, but in that time, you learned you got educated, get your bachelor's degree, you wound up getting your master's degree, and helping other fellow inmates get educated. And we talk about we're going to go in. I'm going to ask you about questions about the literacy stuff that you found while you was incarcerated and stuff like that. So, and then now to the things that you're doing now with helping publications inside prisons and helping young people figure out their way through and being that's incarcerated. So that's a quick, in a nutshell. That's my brother Lawrence's story right there, man. So welcome again, man.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Lawrence, welcome.
All right, so anybody want to start with the first question, or I could just jump into my brother Lawrence? He's an open book. want to understand about his life and stuff like that. So Lawrence, I mean, for me, like, how did you find the positivity in while you was incarcerated from this tragic incident that happened? What was the light inside of you that made you get through this tough times?
Well, it's multiple reasons. You know, when you're inside, you have to live for what's right in front of you. You know what I mean? So you have to figure out ways to maintain and ways to survive. You know, I went in when I was 17 years old, and I learned how to shave when I was in prison. You know, I grew up to be a man while I was in prison, but I always had, like, my grandma was there until she got a little bit older, and then she couldn't write me no more. But my dad was always around. You know, he would always write me. He would send me a little bit of small change every now and then. But the last 14 years of my bid, you know, I had my wife there with me. She came to see me, you know, once a week, every week, once a week for 14 years. And that's something, you know, someone on the outside have value in you. You got to have value in yourself. You know what I mean? So I just dug into anything I could, you know, contrary to what people believe. You know, prisons are called correctional facilities, but they don't really correct anything. For a person to correct, he has to correct himself. He, she, or they have to correct themselves. And you know, that's what I did. You know, I got head first into the college programs. You know, I took it really seriously. And as the brother D just mentioned, you know, I got my master's degree. I went from a GED to a master's degree. But, you know, even the education, that didn't define me. What defined me is, you know, who I thought I was in my core. I didn't think I belonged there in the first place. I didn't think that would be my conclusion. And I lived my life inside like that wasn't my conclusion. But, you know, being inside prison, you got to have, like, a stern exterior to a certain degree to survive inside of that environment. But at the same time, I didn't let it consume me and turn me into something that my family couldn't be proud of. And then, you know, I'm out now, and then, you know, I'm just dealing with the world in a way that to make, you know, the people on the inside proud and to make people on the outside proud as well. So that's where I am today.
You know what, Lawrence? So much of who we are and our circumstances are dictated and determined by our peers, who we are around, who are our influences. It seems as though, you know, you had one type of influence before you went in, all right, and then while you are in there, you have another peer group, other influences. How have those influences? Who are some of the people that you met inside when you went through your time, and how did they affect you? How did they change you for the better or for worse?
Well, you know, when I went in, I went in 1990. It was like at the height of the crack era, so it was madness in the streets. So when I went in, they gave people a lot of time, young brothers a lot of time. I was part of the generation that gave birth to the term super predator. And for those who don't know, the term super predator was created in order to vilify young black children. And that was a way for the media to see us as less than human. And then the criminal justice system latched on to what the media was doing. And then they got, you know, kids like me and my friends doing 15, 20, 25, 50, 100 years in prison. So when I went through that process, you know, my peers were just trying to figure it out, just the same way I was. And but through the years, you know, I met some old timers, I never had a big brother, but I met a guy named Hicks, and he was someone who I looked up to as a big brother. And our birthday happened to be on the same day, and he used to tell me things like, "You move like the way I move," and he was revered in the prison environment, you know, and it was some positivity in that. It wasn't that he was revered for the wrong reason, even though, you know, he was respected in that way, you know what I mean. But at the same time, he has some values with him as far as, you know, budgeting your money. Don't be calling your family and asking them for money all the time. Use your commissary, whatever you get, put a portion aside, create a hustle while you're in there so you could be self-sustaining. He had stocks while he was incarcerated, and he would try to invest in little businesses while he was incarcerated, and some would work, some would fail, but I saw the way he was moving. So I started to do the same thing in my own way. And then it came to a point where I didn't have to call home to ask my mom to take money out of her paycheck to get me a pair of sneakers. I would get it myself. And then, and even from selling cards or what they say, juggling on the outside. And I think that kind of conditioned me to be a hustler, but be a hustler in the legal sense, because when I'm outside now, and my hustle is journalism, and not in a negative connotation of the word hustler, but just sustaining yourself and growing and trying to aspire to different levels, because I don't want to ever stay at one level, and I don't want my friends, family, or anyone I care about to stay at one level. And that's what I got from people like Hicks.
And Lawrence, real quick, I want to go back to the Super Predator. Like the history of Super Predator and stuff like that, and people understand when they use these terms, they make it, like you said, feel like less than. They made it seem like we were all animals, and these are these covert words they use to address, especially young black men. Can you give people the history where the word Super Predator first came from? Because I know you just said it came from the media latching on to it in the court system, but where the term first started from?
Well, in 1995, there was a professor out of Princeton University named John DeJulio. He wrote a paper in the Weekly Standard, and was called "The Coming of the Super Predator." It was a theory that he devised after looking at crime in this country. Remember, in 1985, the Central Park case happened, and they started calling them a wolf pack, using animal imagery to define them. You know what I mean? So then they came up with this term Super Predator, and his theory was that in the coming years, there's going to be thousands of young people who are godless creatures who have no other vision or passion but to create mayhem, to rape and murder. And that's what was coming into this country. And lawmakers reacted, and they started sentencing a lot of kids to a lot of time in prisons. And with the Marshall Project, I'm the executive producer and the host of a video series called Inside Story. And we just covered the Super Predator. And if you go back and take a look at that, you would see that attorneys at that time, they were bringing their clients before a judge, and the judges were just looking at their clients like they're super predators. So no matter what the lawyer was saying, the judges weren't jacking it, and they were just looking to bury these kids. And that's what was happening. And that's why the prison system was so packed in the 90s, and they was building so many jails. But if you go back and think about what got children to that point, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, there was some crimes happen, but that was to some degree a branch of the crack era. I know some people you're listening might be watching Snowfall at the time, and they had the CIA bringing drugs in from the war, but that was really happening. That was actual fact. And it came in our community, and then all this violence was as a result of this, and it's black kids that was meant to pay the price. And Super Predator was one of those words that kind of fostered us paying the price, so to speak.
Lawrence, let me ask you this. And I'm your age, and I remember the story. I remember when all this happened. And at that time, we were, I guess, right on the cusp of gangster rap and the imagery and the videos. And then it got into music where people was glorifying, prison life and things like that. What can you say to young people today that kind of bought into that? Because all of my cousins and stuff that have done time always tell me it's nothing to glorify. They don't glorify it. But then there was people in our own community that are trying to give the impression that, something that was great about doing something or getting in trouble or whatever. Could you tell them the difference between kind of fantasy and reality for young people that may not know? Because right now we got a gang culture. We got people that just feel like, I can do whatever and it's not going to bother me.
Yeah, I think that, those who were glorified, they had it wrong. They had it wrong for so many reasons. When a person goes to prison, let's take me, for instance. I went to prison at 17 years old. I did 27 years. Now, the average person, goes to work and they go to high school, maybe college, they get out in their 20s, they start their career, and they start building up their pension or their 401k. But But all that nonsense that led me to prison, I didn't come out with a pension. You know what I mean? So when folks start thinking about retiring, you know, for those who work their whole life, you know, to their 60s, want to think about retiring. That's not a reality to me. So I have to do something extraordinary in order to just get back to neutral where everyone is. And to go a little deeper, when a person goes to prison, you told when you can take a shower. You told when you can use the phone. You got to pay to use the phone. Nowadays, you got to pay for email, all the stuff that we getting for free, you know, and people talking down on you. They have dominion over your life. But then there are some people who are incarcerated who get sucked into that mentality, and their whole existence, it's their value lays claim in a table in the yard. This is my yard, my table in the yard. Nobody can sit at my table. When you old, you're 60, 70 years old, what you gonna tell your grandkids? I had a table in the yard in Attica. You know, they ain't nothing to aspire to. The brother that you had on before me was talking about STEM. He's talking about engineering. He's talking about creating a career. He was 26 years old. He had a 100K salary at 26 years old. You know, that's something that you could be proud of. You know what I mean? I know so many people that I've met right now that are doing so many magnificent things, and they doing it the legal way. And you know, but if you get caught up into that illegal thinking, you think it's all what you see in rap videos, etc., that can lead you to a deadly and a cold end behind a prison cell. You don't want that.
Absolutely.
Lawrence, I want to ask you this. I do remember when your incident happened at the theater. The one thing I wanted to say is because I've had conversations with people that have been to jail, and I always tell them it's not over, it's over. You know what I'm saying? You're still alive, you're still breathing. I want to commend you for turning your tragedy and not giving up and still moving forward. The thing is, I want you to try to get people to understand that you did 27 years in prison. How did you acclimate that society out? And if it was, how difficult was it for you? And was anybody in your life that came along and helped you with this process? Because I know 27 years being out of society, that's a tremendously long time.
Yes. I mean, I could sit here and I could tell you what it was like for those 27 years that would make it hard for me to reacclimate, but I'll be here forever. There's just so much stuff that went on. So I don't want nobody listening to say, you know, this brother seems like he got it all together. He did 27 years. He's all right. Then I can do it. It's extremely hard. I know people who are my peers that by time we got halfway through our sentence, dudes lost their mind. They taking medication. Then psychiatric wards. They hang up. They kill themselves while they're incarcerated. They get so consumed in violence that they create so many enemies that they got face full of cuts. They got stab wounds all over them. They get hooked on drugs. They come out. They get hooked on drugs. As soon as they come out, they go back to jail because they picked up dope habits while they're in there. So it's very tough to make it out. But when a person is in a tough situation, a person gotta be tougher mentally so the person won't be consumed by that. And for me, it was trying to have a balance between feeding my mind and feeding my body at the same time. I needed that balance. There was times when I had nobody come and see me. Earlier, I spoke about my wife and my parents and all that. There's times when I went 4 years without a visit. When it would, and that would make you become bitter, just like everyone else around me. But I knew that I didn't want to live there forever. So I didn't want to get sucked into doing something totally crazy while I'd be like a friend of mine, Mag, who police was abusing him for so many years that he cut 2 officers. And he got 15 extra years onto his 25 to life. After he did 25, he got 15 extra years. And he went to solitary confinement in 1995. And he just came out in 2020. From 1995 to 2020, for 23 hours a day, in one cell in solitary confinement. He just came out. You know what I mean? So I want the listeners to know that it's tough. So it's not a place to be. But the way I was able to get out of that, you know, I watched the mistakes of my peers, and I wasn't going to do anything that was going to sink me there forever. And at the same time, particularly the last 9 years of my sentence, I told myself I was going to grind super hard and I was going to network. I knew that I wanted to be transferred to a facility closer to New York City, because the facilities that have all the programs, the college and the arts program, they're closer to the city because the volunteers from the city come in and bring resources in, and that's connection for us. So I did that, and I created a lane, I created a reputation, and I went into the college programs. I ain't just do it in order to, you know, get a passing grade so it could look good at my parole board so I got a degree. If I got an A-, I was pissed off, and I took it really seriously. The professors used to tell me calm down, but to me it was super important to try my hardest in everything. And if I didn't do exceptionally well, that means that I did something wrong and I didn't figure something out. So I got to go back to the lab and try to figure it out, because I know I was going to need those skills when I got out. And when I was going through my parole board process, I went through like a crazy, unnatural parole process. I went to 5 parole boards in 7 months. Where usually a person goes to 5 parole boards, it takes 10 years. That means a person didn't make it and had to come back 2 years every time. But I had appeals, some series of do-overs, but it was psychologically stressful. And a friend of mine told me that I should write that down. Actually, a volunteer who I met was coming in, and I should write my experience down. And I told her I was fighting for my life. I don't want to write that down right now. But as I went back to my cell, I said, yo, if I write it down, I might be writing for someone who is less articulate than me. And they could, and getting that story out there, they might be able to use that. What's happening to me happened to that brother Lawrence. So I wrote it about the parole situation, how unfair it was that they judged me about who I was 27 years ago, when I had created this long reputation for 20 years inside that wardens, superintendents, captains, incarcerated people know me to be someone totally different than what's on that paper. And so I did that, and I ended up getting published by this national news organization called the Marshall Project while I was still inside. But I made it, and 30 days later I came out, and they called me to their office to talk about my parole experience, and they offered me a job. And then after that, man, the rest was history. I'll tell you a little more about that with the next coming question. But
so I see one comment from our brother CJ said it takes a hold on, we get back to it. Jamie, can you pull the question up that CJ just said? A comment that CJ said it takes the most time it takes us. Yeah, it takes about the same amount of time, because I have friends that came home. It takes them same time to adapt to how society is. As much time as they did in prison, how much time it takes you to adapt when you get back out here in the streets and stuff like that. So, Lawrence, real quick question. I know you spoke on like the young brothers having difficulty. Can you tell people about the literacy problem that you see incarcerated, and do you think that's a factor why some of these young brothers wind up incarcerated because of the literacy problem that we have outside on the street, and the education system on the community might be failing them?
Yes, there was a study done, and it said that 3 out of 5 incarcerated people can't read, and that's an issue. That's one of the reasons why I created Inside Story. It's a video series, because I have News Inside, which is a print publication that you spoke about earlier. But Inside Story is the video series that for people who can't read, they can watch the news because you don't have to read the news. But that is an issue. But there are ways to address that, especially when you on the inside. I mean, you don't have nothing else to do but to read a book. You have other things you can do, but reading a book can get you someplace. And I remember there's a friend of mine named Ace. He used to go out in the yard and sit down and help brothers pass their GED. And then he used to get a couple of us to be tutors to people. We used to help people learn how to read. So there's avenues where a person can learn, and they don't have to go to the prison administration in order to help them learn. They just have to go to their brothers, and sometimes their brother is someone next door.
Now I want to ask you, the publication, you said The New Inside, the Marshall Project. Can you tell people more about it? And I want to talk about some of the articles that you writing, like it's like journalism that's going on currently. I've seen articles you wrote about COVID-19, and it's so much relatable stuff that's going on outside that you also, to me, the articles make brothers that's inside feel like they all still a part of society. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, definitely. The print publication. But first, let me say, when I got out and I started working in the Marshall Project, I was tasked with getting familiar with our website. And the Marshall Project is like, think of them like the New York Times of criminal justice. It's like the editors from New York Times work for us, etc. We just have this relationship, and so the standard of writing is pretty high. So I was tasked with looking at our website to get familiar with what we do. And when I saw it, I knew that people the inside could use it because it was all about criminal justice, and they could use it like quoted as sources in a paper, etc. And mind you, this is like one of my first times ever seeing the internet because I was gone for like 27 years. And that's a sidetrack, but one of the things that brothers struggle with and sisters struggle with when getting out is technology because they haven't seen it before. So it's very tough to reacclimate, and it like a brother say, might take 27 years. You do 27 years, might take you 27 years to acclimate. But if you grind on the inside and read and be a part of different processes and want to learn and speak it to your family, oh, what's this phone for? What's Amazon for? What's the password? And that's how you learn. But when I saw our website, I said, all right, nobody on the inside has the internet because the internet is not allowed. So I end up cooking this idea to create a print publication, taking our award-winning journalism and putting it inside of prisons. So I got the executive team of the Marshall Project in one room. And mind you, these are folks like Bill Keller, who's been the editor-in-chief of the New York Times for 30 years, interviewed Obama, been behind the Iron Curtain. He's like arguably one of the most powerful men in the country for the last 30 years. Him and others in a room, and I pitched an idea to them to put this print publication, and I promised them that within a year's time, I'll have it in 20 facilities in 10 states. But in a year's time, I got it in over 300 facilities and 25 states. So, it was, thank you, brother. So it was a huge success, and people really gravitated towards it on the inside. And right now, it's in over 636 facilities in 41 states.
Wow, that's what's up, brother. That's major. That's major. And they need stuff like this. People got to understand the stories will go on inside, and then people on the inside got to understand. Like, I mean, they get the news and stuff like that, but hearing it from a journalist like yourself directly, I think it means so much more. It's so much of a difference than somebody like myself or anybody like that doing it. I think it's so much more. We definitely need brothers like you out there. And now, go ahead, Kelvin.
I'm sorry. Just one thing that you said that really stuck out on me. You said early on in the interview, you said, I realized I don't think I belong in here. And did that have something to do with how, because I realized now I know people that have been incarcerated for a long time, and you can see it. They wear it. It's become, they're engrossed in it. I don't see that with you. I wouldn't know unless you said it. And it just seems like you were in there, but like you said, your mind went other places. And we just had an incident, and the gentleman and I talked about it on the show, where these two young ladies tried to carjack some gentleman, and they wound up killing him or something like that. And so right now, everybody's afraid they're going to wind up going away for a really long time. And, we got a lot of young people that society is saying, we're throwing you away. You start to wear this mark on yourself, and you get labeled. What do you say to young people that may have found themselves in a situation where they are locked up or they're facing some time? What do you say to them?
I say that, the deck is definitely stacked against them. We already know there's two criminal justice systems, one for people of color and one for white people. So it's going to be really tough for a person to get a fair shake if you're a person of color, for one. But no matter what color you are, if you come from you don't have money in the family, so you don't have enough money to pay for like an expert witness to help you defend yourself, because the prosecutor is definitely going to have multiple expert witnesses to sink you. And you don't have nothing to refute against that. That's why so many people go to prison for a long time. But what a person can do is do something that a new phenomenon, they're calling it participatory defense. So what that is, you get family members to get baby pictures of you playing football or little league. Get family members to write letters about who you are as a person. Your teachers to write letters about who you are as a person, and all your trophies, picture your trophies, whatever certificates you had. Put all that together in a packet, and you present it to the judge and have your lawyer talk about this, because this is a book of who you are, and these are dozens of people attesting to who you are. So even if a person is guilty of whatever he or she or they committed, they can at least say, "Yo, listen, I made a bad choice, but this is really who I am." And a lot of times, a person who has that participatory defense gets substantially less time than a person who does not. So that would be my advice to someone who's going through the system.
Thank you for that.
I don't want to cut nobody up. Any other brother got another before I ask my next question?
Well, let me ask one last one. I promise this is the last one. I got it.
Go ahead.
I've got to know this. Like I said again, I know where I was at in 1990, which was, I think, 11th grade. And I'm thinking for Lawrence to sit there, and that was always a fear of mine, to sit there and have somebody just spew out a certain amount of time that you can go into a building and not come out and just lay down a gavel and that's it. What was going through your mind to be a kid, to be a teenager, and have somebody tell you, we won't see you possibly until you're 40-something years old? What goes through a 17-year-old's mind in that position?
I mean, I remember at one time I was thinking about the worst I can get is 5 years. And I was like, 5 years? I'm 17? Oh my God, that's gonna be so long. But when it hit me, when I was going through the trial process, mind you, when you're young, you think you're invincible. You don't think that you're gonna go away for 25 years, no matter what anyone say. And that's not because young people are stupid. It's because their brains aren't fully developed at that time, so they can grasp the gravity of what they're doing and the consequences that come out. It's just physically, they just can't do that. You know what I mean? So when it finally dawned on me after I got convicted, I know that the statute, like the least I can get is 25 years. So after I remember I got convicted, 2 weeks later, I had to go back for sentencing. In the morning when I got up in the bed, I had a sleepless night. Before I went to sentencing, I put my headphones on and I was listening to WBLS. And WBLS, they said, it was a lady, I think she's on there now. She's on a morning show. And she said, today Lawrence Bartley goes to get sentenced. And my stomach just started doing flips. And I was just like, oh, man. And when I got before that judge, they gave me the 27 years, man. I knew it was coming. It's like a horror movie when you know that the killer's coming to get you, but they ain't get you yet. You hide it. But when they finally get you, I mean, it's like worse. You torture, anticipating, waiting for it to come, but when it comes, it's just 10 times harder. And it was just rough, man. And I'm surprised that I didn't get plunged into a mental health situation at that time, because those 2 weeks after that, I was in a deep, dark place. And and ironically enough, a haircut pulled me out of that place. You know what I mean? I got a haircut. And I just was like, yo, man.
Did you get the high top fade? You got a high top fade? Did you get a high top fade, man?
Nah, I was never one of those. I was a 360 wave kind of guy. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had spin it, man. I was one of those type of dudes, and it was a tough situation. I had to wave, and I just held on to that, man. It got me through.
This is the most important question: Murray's, Sporting Wave, or Dax?
Oh,
you know what? To keep it tall, man. I have I'm Guyanese, so my grandma is Portuguese, and she's raised in Guyana, so I passed down. I got that, what they say, good hair. It was just hair.
Oh, man.
Oh,
But I
man,
ain't doing that.
you were making them seasick, boy. Yeah.
I'll take anything. I can put Vaseline and it was seasick.
So, Lawrence, this is probably one last question before we promote all the stuff you have going on. If a guy's come home from prison, he's a great writer in prison. How can he do? Do you guys hire people, or how does that work out with the journalism? What you guys what you do over there?
Yeah, it's very hard to get a job in journalism, especially a organization like mine, because mind you, a lot of my peers, like, they went to Ivy League schools for journalism and got graduate degrees for that. You know, so it's going to be real tough to get a job like that. You have to go to graduate school and you learn all the nuances of journalism, and then come and apply for a job when a job is open. It's not impossible. To a case in point, there's a person who's incarcerated now named John J. Lennon. He's been writing for at least 10 years. And what he does is he writes articles. He's been pitching it to different journalist organizations in order to publish his stories, and they've been publishing them. He had a lot of no's, but he got yeses. They started publishing them, and then he built up his writing chops while he's incarcerated. So he comes home today, he definitely got a career. So I would tell a person who's on the inside to just read stories that he sees that he like, and write them. They're giving people $1 a word. Imagine a 5,000 word piece. Sometimes they're giving you $2 a word. You know what I mean? If you're doing it freelance, but if you have a salary, you know what I mean? A person can get a pretty decent salary as a writer, and then become an editor. You get into the high 6-figure range and so forth, and then editor in chief, then you make it like $200,000-$300,000 a year. So it's definitely a decent career.
Lawrence, do you have any like your story is very interesting. Anybody approach you like movies, television shows, anything like that for anything like that?
Yeah, man. Recently, I just turned down hosting a show, but I have a show now called Inside Story. But there's been documentaries done on me. There's Voices from Within out there. There's one that didn't come out yet. It's called Second Shot. There's various things I've been doing. I write a lot, and but yeah, there's a lot to come. I don't want to say too much because it ain't out yet, but there's a lot to come.
Okay. I was going to ask you, can they find some of the stuff that was about to come down the road, like down the pike there? I want to make sure we know so we can promote that. Now, we got to take care of each other out here, man. So I was going to make sure that.
Absolutely, man. Just going to MarshallProject.org. I mean, we named after Thurgood Marshall. And you can see all the work we did. I just published something on Monday called I'm Not Your Inmate. It's about language and journalism, because language you use, like I spoke about Super Predator earlier, sometimes the language you use, like inmate, prisoner, offender, felon, convict, those are labels, that cause people to get discriminated against. So we rather use people first language, like incarcerated person, person in prison, person in jail, or simply call a person by his or her name. That's a way to just, not dehumanize a person, and hopefully other media organizations will take that on and put our guidance in their style guide, and you won't see them talking about people in that manner anymore.
I got this. I keep saying one more question, last question, but all right, Swift. Like you go around teaching young people to stay away from gun violence and stuff like that, and speak on it and stuff like that. Am I correct?
Well, I did Voice from Within, and that's all about anti-gun violence. That's a short documentary that I did while I was incarcerated. So yeah, sometimes I do go out and do that, but primarily I'm a journalist. I'm on the business side of journalism. I have publication and a show, so that's what I do primarily. But I do a lot of talks. I talk to a lot of college kids, but it's usually about the nuances of the craft of journalism and depicting people and whatever we have going on that's relating to the criminal justice system.
So with that question, I'm just saying, like, with all the shootings going on recently and stuff like that, and your thoughts, you have any thoughts on like the gun restraint, anything like that, with President Biden might be saying and stuff like that, and laws? What are your thoughts on it, if you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of these gun laws are crazy, but I know people, like for instance, one of the thoughts I have is that there's people who reach out to me who are incarcerated, and they hear on the news, let's say, let's take it away from the mass shootings for now, because the mass shootings, people say, right to bear arms, we should have our right to bear arms, but then they're misusing it. But there's other people that say they want to use it to protect themselves. We have a right to protect ourselves. But then you look at someone gets pulled over, he's unarmed, he gets shot by the police, and they say this person was killed by the police, he didn't have a weapon, and he didn't have a record. So does that mean if a person had a record and he didn't have a weapon, that person should have gotten shot? So, there's people who are incarcerated be like, yo, I'm cooked. I get out, man, nobody even gonna care about me if the police shoot me, and I don't even have my right to bear arms to protect myself and protect my children. So, the laws are skewed in so many different ways, and I'll leave it at that. It's just chopped.
Yeah. So Lawrence, anything you want to promote before you go? Like, where can people find you? All your articles, your stories, your films, everything. Let us know everything. We want to get it all, brother.
All people got to do is Google me, Lawrence Bartley. I'm the first thing that's going to come up. It's always going to be something. Lawrence Bartley of the Marshall Project. You look on the Marshall Project website, you're gonna see me doing a whole bunch of stuff. Stories I published. I just issue 7 of News Inside just came out, and it's all about vaccinations, and COVID vaccinations, and prisons, the pros and cons, everything about that.
Are they getting people the vaccine or what? Because my boy's in the Fed. He didn't get it yet.
Well, people are getting vaccinated in prisons, but there's some controversy because there are. First, let's back up a bit. There's no social distancing in prison, so it's easy for a person to get a virus, especially coronavirus. Nationally, 1 in 5 incarcerated people have contracted COVID-19, and that's much more than in the public because there's nowhere to go. And they just started giving out masks and proper protective gear. So it's very tough. So in order to keep the community safe, it makes, according to the CDC and other medical professionals, it makes sense to vaccinate people who are incarcerated because guards and prison staff are bringing it into the facilities. It's passing around facilities like wildfire. Then the guards and prison staff are bringing it back out to the community, then it's passing around the community like wildfire. So it makes sense. But there are politicians who are saying, how are you going to vaccinate someone in prison who committed a crime where we have someone out here who haven't committed a crime, can't get the vaccine? So then it becomes a political football back and forth. But slowly but surely, people are being inoculated behind the prison walls. But there are a lot of people who have mistrust. They say, I don't want them to stick anything in me. But they might be because they might have racial issues. They think, they don't care about me. They go put anything they want in me. So some of those thoughts are valid. They've been experimenting on people who have been incarcerated for many years. And so what I try to do is not try to make decisions or advocate for anyone to do one thing, but I try to give people all the information they need to make the decisions for themselves. And that even goes to being inoculated or not.
Yo, Lawrence, man, listen, brother, we thank you so much for coming on, sharing your story, being so transparent, so honest about your story, man. We truly are blessed to have you on this show, man. And I'm glad you're out there to the young people. I'm glad you're writing these stories. I'm glad they're going to do a story probably on you. I know. And when you get that big check from those stories, man, come and show the brothers, let's chop it up. Have you got treated on dinner, brother. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't forget the times when you big time, you know what I'm saying? When you up there big time and stuff like that. So that was that great redemption story, man. Like, truly appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely, brother. Thank you for having me, fellas.
Google his brother, Lawrence Bartley. Google him.
My man.
Lawrence, take care.
Yo!
Tell us the story, Derek. Tell us the story real quick. I knew he was going to move.
That was very interesting, man. That brother, man, great redemption story, man. You can see he poured out his heart to us and everything. He followed us. He changed a negative into a positive and everything in his life. So people that's out there that have people incarcerated, learn from this brother, Lawrence Bartley. Google him. He'll probably reach out to you. He's a good dude, man.
Let me tell you something, D. I have lost my mother. I lost my father. I lost my sister. I do not think I'm strong enough to have somebody tell me you going into a place 27 years. I marvel at that. I marvel to be 17 and somebody tell you you're gonna come out at, I guess, what, 44 or whatever. Is just amazing to me. And that brother has such a strong constitution to keep it together. And you must have hope and faith in there. And he's, like you said, he has his grandmother, he has his father, and you know what it is, you have something to live for.
Yeah.
Correct. I like I said earlier, I remember when that case happened.
I remember.
I was a teenager myself. It was all over the news. But you're right, Kelvin, like 27 years. I mean, that's the definition of football numbers.
No question. No question.
He was hit with football numbers, and to be able to come out of that, wow, and be able to be, moving forward, get your education in there. He didn't waste time. He made his time productive. You know what I'm saying?
He really used his time, man. He really used his time.
He came out and turned his life around. I think that's amazing because, like he said, most guys getting hit with 27 years like that, they might hang up in there. They can't do it.
No question. No question. And some people just built for it. Didn't Mandela do 27?
He did 27. Donna Hilton that we had on the show last year, she did 27.
Yeah. It is commendable. But anybody that turns it around, and I certainly commend them. I went to high school with a guy, and he was in prison, and he told us this. He said, "You don't mature in jail." And that was his. He said, "You don't mature in jail." And I'm listening to him saying how he learned how to shave and stuff. You don't think about it. And when you look at it from the time you graduated high school or whatever, look at all the experiences you had over the next 27 years. Think about all the things you've done, how much you've grown, what you've done with your career, the places you traveled, and to be in one space. But he made, like they say, you don't let the time do you, or right.
It's a testament to his willpower, man. Focus, man. Definitely, man.
I have a young man now, one of my young students that when I was at Boys and Girls High School, that's doing he's on the last part of his 17 years, and I'm trying to tell him, like, I wish I could show him this. I was like, you need to be a Lawrence, like, because he stayed getting in trouble, still incarcerated. I was like, bro, you got 7 more years. You got to be a different person when you come home at 34. And I'm trying to tell him, you need to be around a Lawrence. You got to change. Like Lawrence said, he got a mentor. Young black men need mentors. We had Brother Gerald earlier. Gerald's a coach. He's a mentor. We need that guidance. I always tell people like this. You need good people on both sides. A tree grows, when a baby tree, right, it has a mom, and we have the 2 sticks on the side, right? Most families have a mom and a dad, but you have 2 strong people pulling you this way, and once they cut the strings, you grow straight.
Yeah.
Right. So young people need to have those mentors in their life all the time, and I'm glad I forgot the young brother, the brother that guided him, but that was dope.
I think his name is
Hicks. That was dope that he had a brother Hicks to guide him on there. So I
gotta commend you guys. I have to tell you honestly, I want to say this sincerely. This is a good show. And you men, especially fathers and family men and stuff, I gotta tell you, I love what you bring to it. And I admire it. I want to say that. I know I'm in it with you, but I really, those are great guests. Those are great people that you're bringing, and the world needs, because I noticed something. People don't report on great stories like this. It's better to report on the negative stuff. So to see this is amazing. So I want to thank you guys.
Yeah, and listen, I think our brother Gerald's still in the studio. Gerald wants to come back in, so I want to hear what Gerald had to say, because this is an educator, and he might have something to say real quick.
Bring him back.
So, oh man, brother Lawrence, God, listen. So I graduated high school in '90.
Yeah.
So thinking about just the trajectory of 2 different lives and 2 different paths. Like, one of my best friends I grew up with, I knew this kid when he was, we met at like 7, 8 years old. I went to college, he went to prison, right? But just for this brother to come out and make it through prison and to do what he's doing now, man, is just a testament to, like, when he started talking about super predators and all these brothers who were locked up, just imagine what he would have done. He's doing great now. But just imagine he had all this with him going into prison.
Mm-hmm.
If he would have had the tools to put him in line, just imagine what he would be doing. Like I could see this brother like being, you know,
anything
in politics, right? I could see him being in politics, but just that term, super predator. And I watch a lot of documentaries, and I remember I was watching this documentary, and Hillary Clinton was talking about this whole super predator thing, and to kind of come through that, like, dude, by the grace of God, that wasn't my fate.
Right. Right.
My best friend growing up in my city, he was the dude in the drug game. I have a cousin in Georgia doing 25 to life for, you know, not big weight, not heavy weight, but didn't have a jury of his peers. 25 to life. You know, so I commend that brother, and I'm looking forward to be tracking him down because we need to be doing some work together, and I need him to be talking to these young kids that I'm working with, and you know, see how I can work with him in any way, man. But that I appreciate that brother and his story to be able to come through and make it and come back and you know, be articulate and
absolutely.
You know, in the wake of DMX, right? In the wake of DMX, we had DMX, Black Rob, and all these guys. But you know, we watched a lot of people bring up these DMX stories, and yeah, DMX is great, but Lawrence is greater.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Lawrence is doing real work. Lawrence has a real story. Lawrence is taking my one of my boys calls this thing. He's like, yo, we make our mess our message.
Right.
We make our mess our message, and that brother is doing that, man. And I think, yeah.
Wow. The thing is, like when I hear him talk, and like I said, I know about his case, and I remember it happening. Like this is a prime example of a person not allowing his will to be broken. You know what I'm saying? His will is, I mean, and the energy that comes off to him when you're sitting there watching him talk, like you would think like this guy would be still have a incarcerated type of mentality. You know what I mean? He basically wouldn't probably allow himself to grow. Basically, just got shut off of the world for 27 years, and this guy can come home and make something of himself. I think that's amazing. I think that's amazing, considering what he's been through.
And then especially in the field he's doing it in.
Yeah.
You know he consistently has to educate himself.
Right?
It's not like he's not just working, he's consistently educating himself. It takes a lot. Like when I wrote this first book, man, it was hard writing that first 1,500 words. You know what I'm saying? Like I struggled, and you know, I've gone through college and I've gone through, you know what I'm saying? But for him to be doing what he's doing now, man, like I really applaud that brother. And it just goes to the genius of what we can do as Black men, giving the opportunity. Giving the opportunity.
And just like just with education, right? Think about it. This brother has a bachelor. He's a bachelor of science, and he has a bachelor and a master's in professional studies. And I'm like the stuff he did in jail, like he was a seed in concrete, and it grew. He grew.
Right.
Wow.
In concrete. You know what I'm saying? Like that's remarkable.
Daryl, I got to tell you something. I don't know. We've had a lot of inspirational, successful people on this podcast. There's something different. Tonight you set the table. It was just a different energy. You just wowed everybody. I want to tell you that. And then to have this second interview, the combination just worked. You had two polar opposites, but you had success in two different paths. And you know, it's just phenomenal. I mean, this was really, really eye-opening. This was a phenomenal show. I just want to
dude, I was sitting there listening, and then I took a break. My wife came and got me. She's like, I'm about to roll and grab something to eat. I was like, all right, baby, I'm gonna come with you. But I jumped in the car and jumped on YouTube because I was like, I can't miss it. I came back. I was like, yo, I gotta jump back in. Jump back in because I wanna talk to this brother. I think so for me watching it, real people, man. Like there's no agenda of what you're saying in relation to the media outlet that you're working for, right? So you guys can say what you want to say, how you want to say it. You know, you can bring on, and I just kind of like being authentic. Like, yeah, I'm an engineer. Yeah, I've achieved a certain level of success academically. But when I'm hanging with my boys, I'm hanging with my boys. Like, I don't have to have, be spouting out words that nobody understands and stuff like that. I'm more of a keep it real type of person, and that's who I am. So regardless of, how successful I've become or whatever, I still just keep it real with the people. Like, I'm just a normal dude. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. No, we appreciate that, definitely. Yeah.
I think Jamie just hit me up. I think we have, if Lawrence, Jamie, is Lawrence still with us? Can we bring him back in? Is he with us? Oh, he said in a few minutes. He just said in a few minutes. I'm sorry. Okay. I want to get you. It'd be great to have you on. We probably chop up for a few more minutes, man. But I'm getting text messages now. People saying great show and stuff like that. So this
is actually one of my favorites, man. I ain't gonna lie, man. I've had all of that, man. Just just learning from you, Gerald, man, and just listening to you speak and listen to the actions that you're taking and where you're headed and your vision. For our children, for our boys, man, it's just very inspiring. And right now, I'm just so amped right now, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, he definitely lit a fuse. But Lawrence, I'm sorry, Gerald, you got to tell me, because it's been bothering me all night. Who do you look like, brother? There's somebody that tell you.
Listen, so let's go down the list of who I've looked like during my life, right?
Okay.
So when I was in college, I looked like Muhammad Ali. I remember I was in Norfolk and people would roll up to me like, "Yo, Muhammad Ali, your daddy?" Like, nah, man, no. Then as I got a little older, yo, you Muggsy Bogues?
That's what it is.
I was coaching my son's AAU team, and we would go to tournaments. The kids would run up to me and be like, "Yo, it's Muggsy Bogues."
Young Buddy McGirt too, like a young.
I was like, okay.
I was thinking the same thing when I first saw him. I said, I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. No, man, I love it. But the greatest thing, and let me tell you something, Joe, this D is like really knows everybody. He knows everybody. And the thing that we connected with is he has such a passion for young people. And D will help you no matter what. And so I like the fact that there's definitely some connections to be made. And I just think that there are people that are going to, when your paths cross, sometimes life intersects for a reason. And there's some people that I think are definitely going to benefit from this, because you just inspired, one message, one interview can inspire, hundreds, if not thousands of people. And you never know where that goes. And so that's why I look forward to this. I know my nephew is looking at, I got your bio in advance and made sure that my nephew knew you were coming on. There's also a brother I've been working with who does app development. And
Junior,
Oh, yeah. I see it. And he's in the DC area also.
I could have played Cuba in what's the old movie?
Which one?
Dang,
what do you do?
The Boys in the Hood.
Oh,
yeah. Trey.
You just need that. They get a flat top, but you don't want to play Cuba now.
No, I don't want to play Cuba now. Cuba wilding out here.
Yeah, Cuba plays himself now.
Yeah,
so, you don't have to do that.
Cuba got to leave the white women alone. That's his problem. White women and pig feet.
All right, so now, let me ask you a question, Gerald. Now, look, you say you were, I believe, a football player. So, what's your team?
So, all right. So it's a long story, right? Okay. So growing up, I was Tony Dorsett. In my mind, I was Tony Dorsett. So I was a Cowboys fan.
Boom.
Tony Dorsett got traded. They traded Tony Dorsett to the Seahawks. He never was the same. Didn't look right in that uniform. And then they fired Tom Landry. At the same time, I loved Roger Craig. Like, I was a running backs guy. Loved Roger Craig. Transferred over to the 49ers. You know, I rode with them for a little bit. Then free agency hit. once free agency hit, I was a players guy. So all the players I liked was everywhere. So I grew up a Tony Dorsett, Roger Craig, Marcus Allen type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I kind of floated from the Cowboys to the 49ers to the Raiders just because I love those players. So right now, man, I live in the DC area now, and I moved here in 97, right? So my mother told me something growing up. Don't hang out with losers. So I could never like roll over and be like a Skins fan. So now I'm just kind of a free agent. I like players, and you know, I'm in this DC area, man, and people. So as a federal government worker, people come to work miserable every day. So like people be depressed.
I'm a Jet fan. I understand. I get it.
Yeah. So people after 20 years of depression, like I can't be rolling with y'all. So I'm just kind of a.
So we got Brother Lawrence just came back in, man. We just talking highly about you, brother. Welcome back,
Brother
man.
Lawrence.
Hey, fellas, what's going on?
Yeah. See you again. We hate to bring you. I hope you wasn't going to the dinner table, man. We dragged you back into this, man. I'm sorry, man. But we're so inspired by you, bro. People inspired by you, bro. People inspired by you, man.
Listen, Brother Lawrence, man, we need to connect, man. I need to. I don't know. We got to figure out a way to work together. Just however.
We're gonna make
man, throw me in there, man. I got a community center in East New York, man. I got
however we put this together, we got to put it together because I think that, you know, as young brothers don't write. We don't write, man. We don't write, and we should, right? But we got to figure out how to make it cool to write, right? We got to make it like y'all. We all about the same age, and we all probably grew up with sports, reading the newspaper.
Yeah.
Our young brothers in sports don't read the newspaper. They don't, so they're not building those skills to look at how words interact and stuff. Even if we didn't write, like we read the newspaper, so we knew, you know, we were building our vocabulary and stuff like that just from being in the sports. Like I have a son that's in the sports. He won't read a sports page. Like I tried to get that in front of him, you know, but YouTube is there, so he'd rather watch. And so we got to figure out how to get our young brothers writing and, you know, just building skill sets to expand their minds and things that they're not doing. And, you know, hearing Lawrence's story, hearing other stories can actually bring that back. And we don't get a chance to showcase ourselves. Like Lawrence is an educator. Like all of you guys here are educators. And whether we've gone through the traditional way of being teachers, we are our teachers. Like black males make up less than 2% of the public school workforce. So who's going to teach our young men? We have to. We have to. We all have capacities where we can teach and mentor. And when I go into schools, right, I was telling these teachers, I was like, listen, even when I was an educator working in the school system, I didn't call myself a teacher. I called myself a coach. And it's for these reasons. Black boys develop negative relationships with their teachers at about 2nd or 3rd grade. So the word teacher on his face is something negative to that young black male that he can't even relate to because the teacher is the one who's going to snitch on him. And we all know what the snitch is in the hood, right? Mm-hmm. So the teacher becomes the snitch. Now, as a coach, I can go into a classroom and I can interact with a young man. I could yell at him. I could ride him real hard because what does he know? He knows that the coach, regardless of what happens, they're on the same team and they have a common goal. It's not the same with your teacher, right? So the word teacher is eliminating the ability for that young man to connect and be taught.
Mm-hmm. Excellent point.
Yeah, and like you said, we need more kids. Like kids understand like writing. We have all these kids when we rappers, right? They don't understand. You're a journalist. You're telling stories.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we got in journal, and that is also like it's poetry. And then we got to learn. And we got to learn. I think when I was working at Boys and Girls High School, and there was this brother named Stan Canard, passed on. Is our ancestor now. He always asked the kids, "Give me 5 authors every time walking down the hall." And then he had me start to ask the kids, "Give me 5 black authors." And that is so powerful. When I thought, I was like, wow, our kids got to learn. They didn't know it. They didn't know. They don't know the links they use. They don't know, like, you know, you name anybody that's right now, they don't even know, like, Sister Soldier, like somebody that's kind of like current, you know. But it's so powerful that these kids understand. If you're a rapper, you're a journalist. You're telling our story from a different point of view, and that's what rappers about. So I commit like Lawrence, brother. We love you, man, for that stuff like that, man.
It's cool that you said that, right? So a part of my program, right? So I'll take vocabulary words from tech, right? And then I'll give the kids a beat. Yo, don't give me like back in the day, give me the definitions. Nah, put these 10 words in a rap and make it make sense and give it back to me. Make it culturally relevant, right? So we have to do more of that too. Just like you said, you know, they'll write in that way and then make it something that's natural and culturally relevant to where we come from and who we are. Like we all hip hop. Like we all hip hop. We ain't going back, and these kids are hip hop, and we gotta integrate education in a way that's more culturally relevant.
Yeah. And so like that's why I gotta get you guys, man, over to like I gotta figure it out. I know you in DC. Lawrence, you still here in New York?
I'm in Connecticut, but you know, I'm in New York right now, but I'm in Connecticut. I'm not that far away.
Oh yeah, so we gotta figure out something, man. I mean, I know things are going virtual, things are opening up, and it just we gotta get these black minds and these black men. Like you said, we're the leaders of our community, right? We're the soldiers of our community, and our black women follow our lead. Not saying like sisters, oh, don't get the whole feminist thing and nothing like that. But I'm just saying we are those people for the black family. And I'm glad when you said, Joe, I want my daughter to date someone that look like me, marry somebody like me. You know what I'm saying? So we got to have this, and we need more Lawrence. We got to tell our stories. Like you said earlier, media. We have our own media right now. Jamie, we own this platform. We want to keep it this way. We authentic. We talk barbershop talk. We curse. We say whatever. We joke. We talk about, you know, Lawrence had the good hair. You know, stuff like that. We keep it.
Sport waves, man. Sport waves.
Sport waves, my thing.
I'm with sport waves too. I was waiting for Lawrence. We gave Lawrence the alley-oop. He didn't want to dunk it.
Coming my junior year. My junior year had a curl, so I was down with the S curl.
Brother.
I was with it. That's right. I was with the S curl because you ain't need the rollers for it.
Right.
And I go back to Afro Sheen. Y'all don't know about Afro Sheen.
Oh yeah, the blue and the green.
That's right, brother. Soul Train's #1 sponsor.
Nobody say pink lotion. Man.
Yo, listen, I was rocking with the pink lotion.
No doubt.
Rocking with the pink lotion. My mom kept the pink lotion in the house, man.
Yo, whoever made that, thank God for them.
They got us all, man. But listen, man, I'm so glad. Like, listen, this is the first time we have 6 brothers on the screen right now. This is so powerful, and I want everybody to see this and love this. We got educators, like you said. We got somebody filming us first. Oh God! I never had the girl, man. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. But, like, listen, man, I'm so happy about this show tonight. We went way over time, but it was needed to go over time. It was well worth it, you know. And I'm thankful anybody took the journey past the 9 o'clock hour with us. And I want to thank once again Lawrence. I want to thank Gerald for coming on the show. I'm gonna get everybody's math so everybody can connect, like, and we can build on this. Like, we got a lot of people, a lot of good resources right here in this very room right now. So we're gonna do this, brothers. Really love you guys, man.
Love you guys. Thank you.
People, let's wrap it up with us next week.
Oh, right? Man, yo.
Peace, y'all. Peace.